Yo, what's going on, yo? I'm JBHOOPS, and today I've got my mock draft 2.0. It's going to be a full first round mock with picks 1 through 30 with the order based on the current standings. But by the time I upload the video, the order might have changed a little bit. But anyway, let's just get right into it. With the first pick in the draft, I have the Pistons selecting Victor Wembanyama, the 7'5" big man out of France. Wemby is the obvious pick here no matter what the team is. Victor is a generational talent and his level of skill and fluidity at a legit 7'5" is ridiculous. I'm confident he's going to have an incredible rookie season, and adding a talent like Victor Wembanyama to Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren and the rest of the Pistons young core will make the Pistons must-watch TV and a scary team for years to come. The Rockets are on the clock at 2 and I have them going with Scoot Henderson, the 6'3" guard out of the G League Ignite. There's been a lot of talk about Scoot recently and I disagree entirely. He definitely didn't have the season he's capable of and was constantly battling injury, but he's proven he can be dominant against high level competition. Scoot is an elite playmaker, an incredible athlete, and he's a fiery competitor. He played in a terribly spaced system and I'm not too concerned about his shooting or his finishing. It's reached the point that people are bringing up his height as a negative, even though he's about 6'3" and built like a tank. I think Scoot will instantly improve the Rockets and become their leader. He'll create easier looks for all their guys and allow everyone to play to their strengths, whilst also being able to get whatever he wants. I'm all in on Scoot Henderson and he's a really special prospect, so I have the Rockets taking him at 2. The Spurs are up at 3 and I have them taking Amen Thompson, the 6'7" guard out of the Overtime Elite. I love the Spurs as a landing spot for Amen. They have some high level talent, but I think Amen could be their guy. He's one of the greatest basketball athletes of all time, the best playmaker in the draft and has scary two-way upside, but also a lot of work to do on his jumper and touch. The Spurs have some really nice complementary pieces, and with Amen Thompson as their point guard, they're going to be a very exciting team, so I have the Spurs taking Amen Thompson at 3. The Hornets are up at 4 and I have them going with Cam Whitmore, the 6'7" Villanova freshman. The Hornets have a lot of fringe guys, but only a few I'm confident will stick in Charlotte. So at 4, I have them banking on Cam Whitmore's star upside. Whitmore is a super explosive and powerful athlete, a dominant driver, and has shown improvement with his handle and pull-up game. He's also a confident shooter and has shown a lot on the defensive end, and I just really like his fit alongside LaMelo in Charlotte, so I have the Hornets taking Cam Whitmore with the 4th pick. The Magic are next up at 5 and I have them going with Brandon Miller, the 6'9" freshman out of Alabama. The Magic could go in a lot of different directions with their picks, but for now I have them going with the SEC Player of the Year, Brandon Miller. He's a phenomenal shooter and would give the Magic an elite 2 through 4 alongside Franz and Paolo. He's got great size, is a solid passer, and has improved a ton as a driver and finisher, but still has struggles against size, athleticism, and physicality. But placing him in a tertiary scorer role for the Magic will allow him to do what he does best and gradually develop into more on-ball reps. So I have the Magic taking Brandon Miller at 5. The Blazers are on the clock at 6 and I have them going with AUSAR Thompson, the 6'7" wing out of the Overtime Elite. The Blazers season has been very disappointing and they really lack direction. I honestly hope they just free Dame and really invest in their young talent. But for now I have them going with the athleticism and two-way upside of AUSAR Thompson. AUSAR has drastically improved as a shooter, won the OTE MVP and the Finals MVP, and he also has a really tough handle. Regardless of their plans for the offseason, the Blazers need size, defense, and athleticism, and I think AUSAR could fit in really nicely on their squad, and it'd be a great team for him to maximize his potential. So I have the Blazers taking AUSAR Thompson at 6. The Wizards are next up at 7 and I have them going with Cason Wallace, the 6'4" freshman out of Kentucky. Cason Wallace is a special defensive prospect and has a really nice all-around game, and I think he'd be a great fit for the Wizards as they finally get their starting point guard. He's got great touch, can play on or off the ball, and I think his shooting will even out in the high 30s. You should always bet on Kentucky guards, and I think Cason Wallace is a great fit for the Wizards, and that's why I have them taking him at 7. At 8, I have the Pacers going with Jarace Walker, the 6'8" freshman out of Houston. Jarace Walker to the Pacers is one of my favourite fits in the entire draft. He's an incredible defensive prospect who can guard multiple positions. He's a great passer and would be a perfect role partner for the Pacers guards, and he would also wreak havoc defensively alongside the Pacers frontcourt guys. I buy the shot long term, and I think he has a lot of untapped upside as a self-creator, given his fantastic touch, strength, and handle. So I really love Walker's fit on the Pacers, and think he's an excellent value pick at 8. After taking Brandon Miller at 5, I have the Magic taking Keyonte George at 9 with their pick from the Bulls. The 6'4 Baylor freshman is a tremendous shooter with some high level passing and creation chops. The Magic already have a plethora of young talent, but I think Keyonte George gives them that pull-up shooting and scoring they desperately need in their backcourt. He was inconsistent and pretty poor over the second half of the season, but he showed he can really lock up on D, finish strong inside, and create for himself and his teammates. So I have the Magic taking Keyonte George at 9. The Raptors are up at 10, and I have them going with Nick Smith Jr., the 6'5 freshman out of Arkansas. I'm not particularly high on Nick Smith Jr. and think he's been a little underwhelming, even though he's had numerous injuries. But the flashes of shot making excellence, touch, and playmaking keep him in my lotto range. I feel the Raptors could use a go-to guard and surround him with their two-way guys to help him out on defense, and I think Nick Smith Jr. could be that guy. I've loved his off-ball movement, he can shoot it, his touch on his floaters is insane. He does have some work to do on defense and with his finishing, but he definitely has the talent to be a top 10 pick, so I have the Raptors taking Nick Smith Jr. At 11, I have the Jazz taking Anthony Black, the 6'7 freshman out of Arkansas. I really like the Jazz as a landing spot for him. Black's a special passer and defender with great size and athleticism, but he is a pretty poor shooter and is limited in the half court as a result. So I think he'd fit on a team like the Jazz really well, where he has multiple guys for him to work with in screening actions, so that he can excel in his role as a downhill attacker and facilitator. So I think Anthony Black could develop into Utah's long-term point guard and a really nice piece in their future. The Pelicans are up at 12, and I have them going with Dariq Whitehead, the 6'7 freshman out of Duke. The Pels have been very underwhelming without Zion, but they still have a lot of young players to be great in the future. I'm high on Dyson Daniels as their point guard, so I think going with the shooting wing should be their priority, and that's why I have them taking Whitehead at 12. I'm quite high on Dariq. I think he was really good on defense down the stretch and was an incredible shooter all season. I think his situation was quite similar to AJ Griffin last year, with how he was clearly not himself from an athletic standpoint, but he was starting to come back towards the end of the season. But I also think Dariq can be more than just a 3-and-D guy. He's got some intriguing self-creation flashes, and I thought he was solid as a passer, but it's definitely his amazing shooting that will get him on the floor early on. So I have the Pelicans taking Dariq Whitehead at 12. The Lakers could still very well make the playoffs, but for now they're on the clock at 13, and I have them going with Taylor Hendricks, the 6'9 freshman out of UCF. The Lakers have a really solid roster, but I still think they need more shooting and defense, and that's exactly what Hendricks provides. He drained almost 40% of his threes, and is a really impressive switch defender and an impactful weak side rim protector. He'd fit really nicely alongside LeBron and Anthony Davis, and could be a key contributor to a winning team as soon as his rookie season. So I also think there's a decent chance Taylor Hendricks goes top 10, but for now I have the Lakers selecting him at 13. The Knicks are up at 14 with their pick from the Mavs, and I have them going with Bryce Sensabaugh, the 6'6 Ohio State freshman. A Knicks rookie is unlikely to get a lot of PT with Tibbs, but Bryce Sensabaugh is such a polished scorer and shooter that I think he could contribute straight away, as well as be a big part of the Knicks' future. He's improved as a passer and will get a lot of open threes and easy pull-ups playing with a playmaker like Jalen Brunson. So I have the Knicks taking Bryce Sensabaugh at 14. At 15, I have the Hawks taking Grady Dick, the 6'8 freshman out of Kansas. Grady Dick on the Hawks probably isn't the greatest fit, and I'm high on AJ Griffin, but he'll replace some of Huerter's impact and get a ton of easy shots playing next to Trey. So offensively, I love the fit. I just think he'll struggle a bit defensively if he has to match up against better players, at least until he gets stronger. But long term, I think he'll be solid defensively and a really damaging and versatile shooter who could definitely go as high as the top 10. With the Wolves pick at 16, I have the Jazz taking 6'7 Pepperdine wing Maxwell Lewis. They could go with a shooter like Jett Howard, but Max has a little bit more creation juice and explosion, and I believe he'll be a very good shooter as well. He had a bit of a disappointing second half of the year, but with his handle, size, and pull-up game, could be a real 3-level scorer, so I have the Jazz taking Maxwell Lewis at 16. The Thunder are up at 17, and I have them going with GG Jackson II, the the 6'10 freshman out of South Carolina. The Thunder have been incredible this season and have a real shot at making the playoffs without Chet, and in this mock I have them betting on GG Jackson's youth and flashes to add to their stacked young group. GG was very inconsistent this season, but as the youngest guy in the class that's to be expected, but I think the Thunder can give him the time he needs to develop, both through the G League and with the Thunder playing off of other big time talents, so GG can give consistent effort on both ends of the floor and eventually take on more creation reps, so I have the Thunder taking GG Jackson at 17. At 18, I have the Warriors taking Jett Howard, the 6'8 freshman out of Michigan. Jett definitely has a good chance to be a lotto guy, but in this mock, the Warriors scoop him up at 18. He's another excellent shooter in this class with great size. He's also had some intriguing passing and creation flashes, and I think the Warriors could use a wing to be a future starter and a guy that could step up for them when needed. And I really believe Jett would thrive in their system as he's deadly off of handoff actions, so I have the Warriors taking Jett Howard at 18. The Rockets are back on the clock at 19 with their pick from the Clippers, and I have them taking Dereck Lively II, the 7'1 freshman out of Duke. Dereck Lively was a bit underwhelming to start the season as a former #1 recruit, but he really transformed Duke's season with his elite rim protection and defensive versatility, and he was able to carve out a role offensively as a play finisher and short roll passer. I think he'd excel as a defensive big in Houston and a lob threat for Scoot and Jalen. I believe in his 3-point shot and think there's a lot more to his game, so I have the Rockets taking Dereck Lively II at 19. The Nets are up at 20 with the Suns pick, and I have them going with Kobe BUFKIN, the 6'4 sophomore out of Michigan. I'm really high on BUFKIN. He's a crafty guard who can play multiple positions, shoot, facilitate, get to the rim and finish, and defend. He'd fit in perfectly with the Nets roster, but really he'd be able to make an impact wherever he lands. BUFKIN's just got a super adaptable and versatile skill set, and I think his upside as a lead guard is pretty underrated, so I have the Nets taking Kobe BUFKIN at 20. At 21, I have the Heat taking Jalen HOOD-SCHIFINO, the 6'6 freshman out of Indiana. I really love HOOD-SCHIFINO's fit on the Heat. He's a big, high-field guard with a nice pull-up game, and he excels in the pick and roll. He'll have to improve as a finisher and with his consistency on defense, but I feel like the Heat could get a ton out of him, and learning off of guys like Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry would be great for his development, so I have the Heat going with Jalen HOOD-SCHIFINO with the 21st pick. The Nets are back on the clock at 22, and I have them going with KEL'EL WARE, the 7' freshman out of Oregon. WARE is a huge athletic big with a ton of skill. The Nets have needed another big for years now, and WARE could fill that hole as a guy who can space the floor, catch lobs, and protect the rim. He's got a perfect modern skill set, and even though his season at Oregon was very weird and unfortunate, he's still a guy I'd bet on in the first round, so I have the Nets taking KEL'EL WARE at 22. With the Knicks pick at 23, I have the Blazers selecting Noah Clowney, the 6'10 freshman out of Alabama. After taking AUSAR Thompson at 6, I have the Blazers going with the defensive-minded big. Clowney's a bit of a longer-term project, but should be able to play the 4 or the 5 and make an impact defensively from day one. He's a guy I could see returning for another year to attempt to become a lottery pick, but for now, assuming he stays in the draft, I have the Blazers taking Noah Clowney at 23. The Kings are up at 24, and I have them going with Jordan Walsh, the 6'7 freshman out of Arkansas. The Kings have been great this season, but they still severely lack defense, so I have them drafting a defensive specialist in Jordan Walsh. He moves extremely well, has an absurd 7'3" wingspan, and the flashes at Arkansas as well as his high school tape show he has more offensive game than your typical defensive prospect. He'll have to be more productive in the league and cut down on the fouls, but as a versatile defensive wing with good feel and touch, I think Jordan Walsh would be an excellent fit as the Kings' future starting small forward. The Pacers are on the clock at 25 with the Cavs pick, and I have them taking Colby Jones, the 6'6 junior out of Xavier. Jones feels like a Pacers guy with his well-rounded game, good feel and scoring craft, but I've also been impressed with Colby Jones on the defensive end, and he's improved a lot as a shooter, so a lot of teams are going to be interested in him, so I think Colby Jones will be a great pickup for the Pacers at 25. At 26, I have the Grizzlies taking SIDY CISSOKO, the 6'8 wing out of the G League Ignite. I really love Sissoko's game. He's a huge athletic wing with amazing vision and strength. He's unstoppable with a runway, has improved as a shooter, and can defend 2 through 4, although he is very foul prone. But he should find a lot of success playing in the Grizzlies system as a secondary playmaker and energy guy straight away, so I have the Grizzlies taking SIDY CISSOKO at 26. The Hornets are up at 27 with their pick from the Nuggets, and I have them taking Jordan Hawkins, the 6'5" sophomore out of UConn. Jordan Hawkins is a phenomenal shooter and easily one of the best movement shooters in the class. He's solid defensively, can attack and make a play when ran off the line, and should fit nicely as a wing next to LaMelo and Cam Whitmore, whether that be off the bench or as a future starter. The Jazz are back on the clock at 28 with the Sixers pick, and I have them taking TYRQUAVION Smith, the 6'4" sophomore out of NC State. Turk is one of the best perimeter creators in the class. He has a shifty handle, a rapid release with unlimited range and some sneaky bounce, and I think he could be one of the better six-mans in the league with the potential to be a star. So the Jazz could potentially get a guy who can replace Jordan Clarkson, who will probably be moved in the offseason, so I have the Jazz taking TYRQUAVION Smith at 28. The Pacers are back with their third pick at 29 via Boston, and I have them going with Leonard Miller, the 6'10" forward out of the G League Ignite. Leonard Miller has been really good for the Ignite all season. He can attack closeouts, play in the pick and roll, defend, rebound, and he has amazing touch. I'm not sure what position he plays at the next level, and his shot needs to be reworked, but a team like the Pacers could give him the opportunity to figure things out, and I really think he's a steal this low in the draft, so I have the Pacers at 29 drafting Leonard Miller. At 30, I have the Clippers selecting Tyrese Proctor, the 6'5" freshman out of Duke. I'm definitely biased on this one, but I really think Tyrese Proctor has star upside. He's a crafty big guard with a smooth shot and excellent vision, and Proctor was a huge part of Duke's success over the second half of the season. He's become a lockdown defender, and his handle has improved a ton. The Clippers could really use a long-term point guard, and Proctor would be a great fit. I think there's also a decent chance he returns to try to become a lotto guy next year, but I personally think he'd be worth taking in the late first or early second round this year. So I have the Clippers taking Tyrese Proctor at 30. There's some huge talents that missed out on the first round in this mock, like Iowa's Chris Murray, Syracuse freshman Judah Mintz, Kyle Filipowski, and Amoni Bates, as well as like 10 or more other guys that could definitely be first round picks. This class is just so stacked, and I think its depth is pretty underrated. But anyway, that concludes my mock draft 2.0. Alright, that's all I got for this one. Let me know if you enjoyed the video. Make sure to leave a like, comment down below, subscribe for more. Got more content coming soon, so stay tuned. Anyway, that's all I got. JBHOOPS, out.